Trotz, what's going on?
Just hanging out in beautiful Washington, D.C., visiting my granddaughter. It's her birthday today, so we're
Awesome.
going to
Happy.
keep this fairly short then.
Yes, we will. Happy birthday. So what have you been up to lately?
I've been since May, just trying to be a good dad, uh, a good father. With my children, they're all grown up now. They've got certain businesses, so we've taken care of that. And then I've been moving my parents and my wife's parents. They've gone into facilities, so we've had the perfect storm this summer, and we moved ourselves. So been doing a lot of moving.
Keeping busy. That's great to hear. Be honest, you getting that urge to get back into the mix here a bit?
Yeah, a little bit. I probably need a little bit of a break from all the. I haven't had a break since May, but yeah, I miss being in the. I miss game day. I miss the room. I miss that. The wins, the losses, the emotion that goes with it, just and the preparation that goes with it. You get an adrenaline crash, or you get an adrenaline kick every day. So. Yeah, I'm watching the games. It's the seasons. The team is all the teams in the league are pretty tight. You look at some teams have got off to great starts. Some teams have got off to poor starts. It's normal, but the games have been good. There's been an uptick in offense around the league. I don't, the goaltenders. Save percentage have gone down. I just watch the players. They're deception right now. There's no tells. They're selling shot and throwing it over to the backside. So there's a little more offense happening now.
So what kind of fan is Barry Trotz? And we mentioned you're unemployed, I guess, for the time being, we can call it. But like when you watch a game, are you watching teams? Are you watching systems? Are you watching specific players? Like what goes in your mind?
A little bit of all. Really look at it from a coaching perspective, right? Probably first and foremost. What systems are they using? I've got a pretty good book on most of the teams the last couple of years, and coaches have certain systems and certain things that they do. So, if a coach moved around, example is Bruce Cassidy doing what he did in Boston. Is he doing it in Vegas? Is he tweak something? So that's probably where my mind goes first, and then how the coaches are using their players, which players are getting a little bit of an uptick, from their coach and belief, and which are getting a little bit of a downtick in terms of ice time. So watch a little of that, and then I try to get to know the new players. I have a really good book on the Eastern Conference, obviously being there the last 9 years or so. So, the Western Conference got a little. You're not quite as familiar because you don't play them as much. So, plus some of those late games when they're on the East Coast, as you know, are a little harder to watch. So, getting a book on that. I spent a lot of time in obviously Manitoba, in my parents, in my wife's mother's area, where. So I'm a little bit more in that central time zone, and then I moved back to Nashville for tax purposes, getting out of New York. So,
Smart.
yeah, you can save quite a bit. So I just did that. So I've been more in the central time zone, so I get a little bit of both, but I get a little more of the West now than I'm used to. So getting a good buck on them. So watching a lot of hockey, keeping on top of things, and working during the day for the most part.
Yeah, same. My eyes are starting to hurt. I watch so much hockey, but it's a lot of fun. I mentioned your resume. We'd be here all day, Trotzy, if I listed off all your accomplishments. So my next question is pretty simple. Like at this juncture in your career, you've done so much. What makes you tick? Like, what are you looking for in your next adventure?
Well, I think I'd like to win another Stanley Cup. I've been a part of an expansion team, and that grew. And you see, Nashville's a really strong franchise, and there was some tough sledding the early years. Trust me, expansion wasn't what it was. We had 8 or 9 different owners, those type of things. So. And then I went to Washington, who we were able to win a Stanley Cup, and then onto the island, where I think getting the pride back on the island was really important, getting that building built, becoming relevant again. And I thought we were able to do that. We lost John Tavares to the Leafs. So it was a big challenge, but Lou was great to work with, and I think we stabilized that franchise to the point where it's got a beautiful building. We went to the conference finals twice, and if Tampa's not there, I think we might at least have one ring, if not two. But we couldn't get by them, and they're back and being relevant in a real important market, especially in New York. So all that, I'd like to. Obviously, when you win a Stanley Cup, you want to do it again. You really do. And I'm bitten with the bug, I guess. I love the game. The game has given me so much, and I've always been all in when I've gone to a team. So. A lot of this summer was about, can I be all in or not? And I wasn't able to. So I got to do things that I needed to do as a husband, a father, and a stepson. So I've been able to do all that, which has been really a blessing.
So you don't have to name teams, but have you been contacted recently about any coaching gigs around the league?
No, not really. I think right now I'm a pretty firm believer in with all the teams. There's the first 10 games of the year. You're trying to see if your team is out of summer mode, and and people don't understand. You got training camp and all that, but the games get spread out, and it's really about the compete. You can get back into that summer mode. If you're out of it, teams are going good. And then the next, 15 to 20 games, you find out what your team is, how much compete, how detailed are they? Do they have the belief? Do they have their swagger? That type of thing. Everybody was down on Boston because of all the injuries, and they took it as a challenge. Yeah. Jim Montgomery, there's some great leadership in that room. They just took it upon themselves to make sure that they were out of summer mode and they were getting it done together. And you saw the start that they had. Vegas had something to prove. All the teams, New Jersey had something to prove. They're going well. All the teams that had changes have something to prove. Winnipeg, they got off. They got the Islanders as well. They've all got a little chip on their shoulder from last year, and they've come out flying where other teams maybe didn't have that chip on their shoulder and trying to ease into it. And they haven't got the start that they want. So this is the time of the year where you can get yourself right in the mix. And I mean, you win a game here, you go from 12th place in the conference to 8th place, and you're all fine. So you have a good week, as long as you don't have bad weeks. I always as a coach didn't go on a 10 game segment, talk about a whole lot about 10 game segments. I talked about the week. You usually have 3 games a week, sometimes 4, but you need at least 4 points. And I don't care how you get them, get 4 points every week, and you're going to be in the playoffs. And so you try to have a short-term focus, and teams or have that. You see teams that have got off to bad starts are starting to rebound, and you find out a lot about them.
We all know the volatility surrounding the job. We're approaching American Thanksgiving, as you just referenced. Would you strongly consider a job offer right now if it made sense for you and your family, Barry?
I would, if it made sense. I'd be quite honest with the team. Ideally, probably for me, I'm probably after January, but the right situation, yeah. I'm refreshed. I'm all that. There's still some things on my plate I have to get done. I have a special needs son who we need to get him situated a little bit better. It hasn't been a great 4 or 5 months here for him, and so we want to get him situated. But we're getting pretty close to that point where I feel comfortable if the right thing came around that would be something I would consider for sure. So But the break's been good. I get to look at it from a different perspective. I was telling someone the other day, I went to David Poyle's 3,000th game. I was invited by him, and we had some of the original parts from 1997 come and return, and it was really surreal. Me being in a rink with the season going on, and I'm watching it from a suite type of thing. So that was a little bit awkward or surreal, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, I'm in a good place myself. Mentally and physically, I'm doing good and pretty relaxed right now.
Yeah, I love that. And that's the most important part. And I was going to say, like, you strike me as a very hungry and motivated person. I think the unique aspect of all of this is you've never taken a job in season, right? And with that, what
Yeah.
do you think the pros and cons of something like that would be? Like, do you even think about what's happened in recent memory with guys like Craig Berube and Mike Sullivan and said, you know what, that Stanley Cup could be closer than I think?
Yeah, no, you think about those things a little bit. I think when a team, there's certain teams, all depends on the room and the situation. I can't talk for every city, but I do know from experience and watching and talking to other coaches that sometimes teams sit back and they feel like there's going to be a change happening. They're expecting a change, and when the change happens, it's a little bit of a kick in the pants, if you will. That you didn't get the job done. A coach is there to direct and motivate and hold people accountable, put the structure in, foundationally to put that in. But to me, it's getting the players to. You always hear coaches talk about buy-in, and the buy-in is, are you ready and willing to commit to win? And there's two types of players for me. There's businessmen and there's players, and the difference between a businessman and a player. And I'll take a NFL sort of situation. A receiver going through the middle, the ball's thrown a little bit high, and those hands don't always get up there. They get a little bit nervous, and those hands come down a little quick. Player gets those hands up, catches the ball, and makes the play. And that's the difference between businessmen and players, that commitment level. And you see around the league, there's high commitment level on teams that have got off to great starts. I ended up watching the Boston Bruins the other night, and their commitment level and their swagger and all that is extremely high, and it's carryover from their start. Their carryover was from the knowing that they were going to have a lot of people out, and obviously it changed with Bruce, who was there a long time, and they didn't know Jimmy, so they're all trying to impress Jimmy, and they got the message across, and they've got off to a great start. So it's huge when you get that the buy-in and the commitment, and you might need an event. I know the year we won the Cup. We had a couple losses. We won the President's Trophy. Couldn't get by Pittsburgh. They go on and win 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
I sort of let the team heal, for lack of a better way to explain it. I let them try to fight through it a little bit, the pain of losing it. Are we ever going to win and all that? And it was about game 20, and I remember where I felt it was time where enough is enough. No excuses, all that. And it was in Colorado, and I touched a few things that were right on the edge, and I said to my coaching staff, I know we're playing Minnesota when we're coming back. I says, I'm going to find out if they're going to buy in, or if they're going to jump off the wagon here, and when they jump off the wagon means that probably I'm gone, type of thing, and
Yeah.
because I sometimes the coach has to go to the edge. He has to say things that are harsh, and as long as the players know it's not vindictive, that it's the truth and it's honest, and you don't hold it against them. You're just trying to show them the way. Then they buy in, and we played Minnesota, and we had a terrific game, And I said, now we're rolling. And sometimes you need to have that event or that, that type of honest, break it down right to the core meeting where everybody gets touched up a little bit. Even the coach himself gets touched up, and he touches them. He understands he's part of that too. And usually, if the buy-in's there, the answer's in the room. It always is. The easy way is to yell, "Fire the coach! Fire the coach!" Well, what do you think New Jersey fans would be saying now if they fired Lindy after second game or first game of the year, whatever that was? I mean, he's got them. That event probably helped their team. It really did. It bonded their team. I haven't talked to Lindy, but I'm sure it has. The players said that's on us. We got to get this done, and they're fun to watch. And they're winning.
A little kick in the ass never hurt nobody. And I love the thank you, Lindy chants the other day. Just a couple more and I'll let you go. The Leafs. This is a Leaf-centric show. What have you made of their start?
Yeah.
It was just a tough October. They've been much better lately.
Yeah, I just think that they have a team that they feel that they're going to be a playoff team. They know they're going to be a playoff team. I think that's what Sheldon and the management and the players feel. And sometimes you ease into it a little bit. Into the season, and it wasn't quite going their way, and they were having trouble finding the net and keeping pucks out, and that's what happens. But they came back to Toronto after I think their Western swing, and they fixed it. They fixed it in the room. Sheldon did a good job. I'm sure guys, the key people in the room, the Morgan Rileys and the Austin Matthews and the Marners, they know they got to carry a heavy load. And I think what I've seen in Toronto, I haven't seen them a lot lately, but I caught a game, and I think what happens sometimes with teams is that you're so reliant on your top guys that the secondary scoring and all that, they sometimes don't, they feel like, oh, those guys will take care of it. But I think what you're seeing is that everybody's finding ways to contribute. Either a block shot or something. There's more of a collective 20 guys pushing, not just 4 or 5 guys. It's hard to win in this league, and it's a hard burden for 4 or 5 guys to carry a whole group. So the strength is in the numbers, and I just think that they came back, they pulled themselves together, and it starts obviously with your best players, but the other guys started feeling that they were a part of it too. So. They're playing well, and they've got a good hockey team, and they've had some problems in goal with trying to stay healthy, which is can go one way or the other for your hockey team. It can galvanize your team play, or it can sometimes take the confidence out of your team. But they've pulled it together in terms of their team play, and they're playing well.
And again, you have to be level-headed, right, as we wrap here. Just sort of your general thoughts on like a checklist for your career, where your ambition is headed, and what would it mean to you, truthfully, like between us as a Canadian, to potentially coach a Canadian team one day?
Well, it wouldn't be the be all and end all. I created a storm when I said that, I think it was Cam Jansen's, original 6 team, and everybody said, "No, Toronto." No, I'm an older guy in terms of, I'm 60 right now, and I grew up with, the original 12, but the original 6 were, Montreal, the Leafs, Boston, all that, Detroit and the Rangers, and that's where I started. So that was the only, I've done the expansion team. I've done a couple of great franchises in Washington and the Island, and I haven't done the original 6. And it was just a comment that I made, and it went quite viral, I think. It wasn't directed at one organization or the other. It's just those are cool things when you go through your career. Disappointment for me is I always wanted to coach, be part of the Olympic movement, and not going to the Olympics, being part of that staff, and then that not being able to go. That was something that was on my bucket list for sure. which I probably I don't know if I'll ever get to do that again or not. But that was something I wanted to accomplish, and I get great enjoyment with uh, taking teams and trying to make them better. Players have good relationship with players over the years. That's where you, as a coach, you miss the room. You miss the I'll say every about 48 hours you have you're either happy or you're sad, and it's emotionally it can be quite draining, and I guess you become a little bit of a addicted to that, I guess. But the game's a great game. It is, and it's so fast. People have no idea how fast it's gotten, how skilled it's gotten. But when it comes down to winning championships, you need that good blend. You just do. You need the high skilled guys that can change a game. You need those heart and soul guys. You need role guys. You look at Colorado last year, who's got all the superstar talent that more than probably anybody in the league, and at key times those role players were high contributors. The Coglianos and people like that who stepped up and did a real great job for them. So that's what you need to win. And 82 games is hard to get in the playoffs. People have no idea how hard it is to get in the playoffs, and how committed you have to be and focused you have to be to win a Stanley Cup. It's an incredible journey, and people always say you have to learn to win, and you're probably going to have some hard losses. And I'm a big believer that you just don't go from, becoming a good team, win a cup. You're going to get disappointed many times, and then when you least think about it, you think about our run in Washington. We had probably deeper teams the first 2 years I was there, and we won President's trophies, and we just couldn't get by the Penguins, and then we lost some pieces. In that third go at Pittsburgh, when we beat them out in that game, in that series, we didn't have Tom Wilson; he was suspended.
Yeah.
Nicholas Backstrom had a broken thumb. We were missing a lot of pieces, but we had learned how to win, and we started really hating to lose, to a point where we weren't going to lose anymore, and that got us over the hump. Our structure, our commitment was phenomenal, and when we got by Pittsburgh, I had no doubt we were going to win the cup. I actually knew we were going to win the cup when we were down 2 games to 0 against Columbus in the first series, and we went to Columbus and we won in double overtime. I walked in the room and said to the coaches, "I'm just telling you, we're going to win the Stanley Cup now." And they looked at me and, "Settle down, big boy. That's only one game." And I said, "No, that was something that we needed, and we got it." And I was right.
You were, and it was a magical run. I remember the save by Braden Holtby.
Yeah.
I think it was in Game 2 against Vegas, and it's funny you bring that up. I was talking to Devontae Smith-Pelly last night. He says hi, and just it was an unbelievable year. I was so happy for you. And again, we can talk for ages. I love chatting with you. You're such a class act. Really appreciate your time today, and I look forward to seeing you behind an NHL bench very soon here.
Absolutely. Well, you have a good Thanksgiving. I was here in Canada. It's big time in the States, and
It is.
if not, we'll have a great Christmas.